making a pair of pajamas. I saw this fabric online and I thought it would make a really cute set with the coordinating flowers. It's kind of looks sort of gray on camera, but in real life it's kind of like a pastel lime green with sort of mustardy flowers, and I thought it was really cute. It reminded me of sort of like a 50s, 60s kids cartoon. But I don't actually have a pajamas pattern, so instead I'll be using this pattern that I drafted myself from a pair of shorts that I bought. It looks really nice because it's high-waisted and there's plenty of room in the legs, which I don't know about you, but when you're wearing a pair of pajamas, the last thing you want is for them to be restrictive. And for the top, I'm going to attempt to use this blouse pattern. It doesn't look very pajama-y, but I think if I make the sleeves a little bit shorter and take out some of the structuring like darts, I think it'll actually work pretty well. And the nice thing is that I've actually used this pattern before. Ignore that. This one. This is actually a reproduction pattern of a 1940s blouse. I actually got really into 40s fashion last year and I bought this one online. And I'm really happy with the way the blouse came out. So I think it'll be a good fit for making the pajama pattern. But definitely I want to make it short sleeved, which bonus means I don't have to make these cuffs. I think most of the pattern will be okay to follow. I think I'll probably leave out these darts to make it less restrictive. And then the back, you can see that it has this dart here, and I think that this was probably the hardest part of making this blouse, so I'm going to try to end run around it as much as possible, but we'll see how it looks without it and then go from there. So I'll be cutting the shorts out of this flower material and then the top out of this deer material. I'm not entirely sure I'm going to have enough material, and since it's a one-way print, that also limits how much I can sort of play around with it. But like I said, I think by taking some of the material out of the back, maybe I can save some from the pattern. I think I only have maybe a yard of each one, and I already measured it out, and I definitely have just enough for the pants. I'm not quite sure about the blouse. I should probably have about 2 times more material than I have right here, but we'll see what I can do. I decided to do the shorts first since there's going to be less drama involved in those. I already know that it fits. So I folded the material over in half. So as you can see on the front, the flowers are growing upwards, and then when you flip it over, it's the same. The flowers are growing upwards. When I made a dress recently, I forgot that little fact, and I think you'll see it in a later video, but thankfully in that case, it wasn't that noticeable, but I don't want to make the same mistake twice. All right, so I have the pattern pieces laid out. You can see the front part of the leg is over here and the back part is over here. I have a waistband section marked off here, but when I made this pattern before, I figured out that it makes way more sense to just cut it out of one material and then have a separate thinner waistband. As you can see, it is exactly enough material. Then I would definitely recommend getting more than 1 meter. Actually, this isn't 1 meter. In Korea, they do it by ma, which is 90 centimeters, so it's even shorter. If you're a similar size to me and the pair of shorts that you were tracing was pretty similar, then 1 meter should be enough. But if you want to be sure, you don't want to deal with the not having enough material sweats, then definitely get more than 1 meter. So I'm going to trace over the pattern pieces with this tailor's chalk. But luckily for you, you are not me, and you'll get to watch this process and fast forward. Lucky you. So I've ended up with these 2 pieces, and before you say something, yes, I know that I should have washed it and ironed it first, but we're on a bit of a time crunch, so Alright, so I can't really put it off any longer. I need to look at the pattern pieces for the blouse, the pajama top. So I'm going to be making this D blouse. So if I look at the pattern pieces, here it is. So I'll be needing all of these pieces. 17, 19, 22, 23, 24, 26. Sounds like a lot, but see what we can do. Hopefully the fact that I'm making it short sleeved will save me a bit of material. I'm gonna look at the pattern piece and see if I can take some out of the back as well. Wish me luck. 22. All right, so now we're really getting into it. All right, so here's the back. I'm gonna look through the instructions and see if maybe I can just cut this whole section. So you can see this line here is where you put in the pleat. So hopefully I can just cut this whole section off and save myself a little bit of material. That looks about right? We'll see. So this is the front part. This is the part that I'm most worried about because it is a lot of material. And unless I want to skip the front button placket altogether, I kind of need to cut this whole thing out. And the sleeve. So I think I'm going to cut a super short sleeve, depending on how much material I have. Maybe from here. That seems like it would be about right. Okay, so after a ridiculously long time spent trying to puzzle out how to arrange these pattern pieces so that they're all fit, I've come to some conclusions. So if you can see here, this is the part where the fabric will end up being folded under to kind of make that fold over collar look. As you can see, I definitely don't have enough material for that. So I decided that I can use the remnant material from the shorts fabric to cut this as a separate piece. And it says here that it's like a fold line. So this is where I'm gonna end up folding it over, or I would if I was doing it in a normal way. But in this case, I'm going to cut just this part here. Also together, I can go ahead and treat it as one piece later on. Now in the back here, you can see the part that's sort of extending beyond the material right now is the part that was that pleat in the back. And I decided to just cut that part out completely. Now the biggest problem that I have right now, as you can see, these parts, with the caveats that I just said, these pieces fit. Now the problem that I was having was with the sleeves. As you can see here, the sleeve is actually really wide because it's gathered at the top, and I could try to cut that out and make it smaller, but one, that's more work. Two, I'm not entirely sure that the sleeve wouldn't be too small and limit movement if I did that. And since I don't have enough material, I definitely don't have enough to cut it out twice if it ends up being too small. And I actually do want to end up wearing these pajamas in the end. So what I'm gonna do instead is, might look a little bit strange, but in addition to using the remnant material from the shorts fabric, this fabric, to cut out this fold over part where the buttons will go, I'm also gonna use it to cut out one of the sleeves because I checked and I definitely don't have enough material to cut out both sleeves from this material. So I'll cut out one sleeve from this deer fabric and one sleeve from the flower fabric. So I'm sure you're thinking, that's gonna look really weird. But hopefully, because the fold over part of the material and the collar will be out of the flower fabric, hoping that it'll be okay. And if I have enough material, I might make like a little square pocket in the front to sort of tie it all together more. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut out this and this one sleeve from the deer fabric and one sleeve from the flower fabric, as well as this fold over piece. Alright, so after cutting everything out, I'm left with these two pieces. I still need to cut out this folded over part and the collar and the sleeves. So it's time to start sewing the pieces together to make the top. I think I'm gonna start by joining this piece with this piece, because if you remember, they're actually supposed to be one piece. And I think it'll be easier to follow the instructions if I go ahead and make them one piece, and then I can treat them as if they were always one piece, always together. And then I also won't forget what my seam allowance was here. So I went ahead and I gave these pieces that I had joined together a nice press. So this is the collar piece over here, and I just pressed it along the center. And then this part that's going to be the folded over part in the front of the blouse, I gave it a nice press as well. So now I'm going to start actually following the instructions that are on the pattern to try to put this piece together. Okay, so the first step is to put a gathering stitch between the 2 notches on the shoulder seam of the front. I could do this with a machine, but every time I use a long stitch on my machine, it ends up messing up my tension for a while afterwards, and we just don't have time for that today. So I'm going to go ahead and do this by hand. So next I'm going to go ahead and make those tucks in the front. Alright, so I did the stitching. You can see I just stitched along the yellow line, and I did 2 passes just to make sure it wouldn't be coming undone. Alright, so the next step is to pin the front pieces and the back pieces together at the shoulder seams. And then remember these gathering stitches I did before? I'm just going to go ahead and pull them up so that the back piece is the same size as the front piece. And then we need to spread the gathering evenly along the shoulder seam. So that seems pretty even. And I think I'm going to press it before I end up sewing it, because every time that I don't do that step, it looks a little bit more floofy than gathered. So I'll do the other shoulder and press it and show you how it looks. So you can see here that I've sewn one side. That weird like elephant trunk looking thing got sewn up and under. I haven't sewn this part yet, but you can see how it's pinned. The elephant part goes up here and also along here. And then I'll turn this part inside out and it'll end up looking like this. I went ahead and followed the next set of instructions and I sewed the side seams together. You can see it kind of looks like a shirt now instead of just like a great swath of fabric. It's always exciting when it gets to that point in a project. Alright, so it's the next day, the day of the slumber party. I didn't film that much yesterday because I got pretty tunnel visioned about getting the project done. This is what I have so far. I was actually sewing these shorts at about 11 p.m. last night. But here's how they look so far. I pretty much just sewed the seams together. I still have to put the elastic channel on the top and to hem the bottom, which I don't think is going to take too long. I think I'll probably go back later and add an actual waistband along the top with elastic in it. But because I'm on a bit of a time crunch, I think I'll just go ahead and fold this over enough to fit in a very skinny elastic through the top. I'll leave enough room in the back so that I can go ahead and slip the elastic in and weave it all the way around. Yeah, I'll just leave. There are a lot of edges on this project that I probably should have finished, but I'm gonna go back later and clean everything up. But I just need it to be done for tonight. So I'll go ahead and do that. So that's how the shorts look. And then this is how the top is looking. I actually did a lot on the top yesterday. I went ahead and added on the sleeves. You can see this is the 2 sleeves are different from each other, which doesn't look as weird as I thought it would. So that's good. But I added on the sleeves and hemmed them. I did finish the edge of the sleeves before I folded them under, so I won't have to go back and redo anything there. And I hemmed the bottom, but I definitely will need to go ahead and fold this edge one more time later to go ahead and finish it. And then pretty annoyingly, I had to go back and alter this. In the original pattern, you're supposed to put a facing in the back, and then you're supposed to sew this part to the facing, kind of up here to make a loop, and then sew it all along the edge. I don't know where the disconnect happened. I don't know if it's because I didn't add the facing or something got messed up when I was joining these two fabrics together, but it just didn't go together right. Later, I'll go along and just clip this extra off. So the only thing left to do on the blouse is to add the buttons and the buttonholes. I say only. I think everyone pretty much hates adding buttons and buttonholes, or maybe that's just me, I don't know. But I'm actually really happy with the way that it's coming out so far. I have until this afternoon to finish it, so I'm gonna go ahead and start now. So I try on the shorts, so this is enough elastic to go all the way around my waist. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew a channel in the top part of the shorts and feed the elastic through. Okay, so I've sewn the top channel and I've left a space right here to fit the elastic in. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my 2 safety pins. So one for putting in the end that I'm gonna feed through the channel. And this one is to secure to the other end so that it doesn't kind of snake around with it. So since the seams are going this direction, it's a lot easier to feed the elastic through in the same direction that the seams are going. Just a little trick. I go ahead and double check, make sure that the elastic didn't twist at any point around the circumference of the waist. Looks like we're good. So I'm gonna pin these 2 ends together. Okay, now I'm gonna try these on one more time to make sure it's as tight as I want it to be. All right, so the shorts are all finished. I sewed the channel at the top, inserted the elastic, and finish the bottom seam, so the shorts are ready to go. So all that's left to do is to finish the buttonholes and put in the buttons on the blouse. Now I need to look through my button stash and see what options there are available.
She's always like, you hit 2 stones with 1 bird, and they're like,